friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests, put your leadership in motion, and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mel. Today, I've got Erica and Kim back with me, and we are going to do day 2. And we're talking about organizing your school for success using those 7 correlates that we started on yesterday. And it was great. We had a good time talking about it. I think we learned a lot. I think we kind of started some things that we were going to wait on, but we're going to work through that today. And that's totally fine because we're passionate. We're passionate about what we do.
Yes.
And so if you have not listened to part 1, you need to go back and listen to that because it does set the foundation for today and the content for today. And we did talk a little bit about some things yesterday that you're going to dive into a little deeper today. So definitely go back and listen to part 1. And we're going to get started today. So I'm going to give you ladies the floor back and you're going to show the booklet again. It is a wonderful handbook, workbook, whatever you want to call it. I think workbook is better.
Workbook, yes.
Yeah. And we're educators. So we always give you homework because, you know, that's who we are. We can't let you go away without writing something down and learning something before you leave here. So I'm going to give you the floor back and let you ladies dive into day 2.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. So while Erica's getting our booklet up, one of the things we touched on yesterday briefly was the importance of being able to delegate. As a school leader, new or seasoned, you will find that there are lots of things that happen on a daily basis. Some things you plan for, many things you don't or didn't. And it's important to be okay with delegating. And with that, I wanted to tell a little story because when I was first principal, that was the part that was the hardest for me. And not because I didn't trust my team, not because I didn't have people, because I did, but it's just my nature. I'm the first oldest of 8, and I'm just one of those, I'll do all the things. I got this and I got that. Well, you can get burnt out real easy and you can really become overwhelmed. And so part of what this grew out of, utilizing the correlates to organize us, came with me learning how to delegate. And I'm going to say it, I learned it over some time. It wasn't like, you know what, I had to realize you really have to lean on the team that you have. And Erica will talk about it a little bit in her experience as school leader. She was a solo leader, but she still had to create that team and be okay with delegating in that way. Our configuration, I was the principal. We had 2 assistants, an instructional coach. There was a dean. Like, we had lots of support. We had lots of 5th and 6th graders in our building. And I still struggle with delegation. Go ahead, Dr. Mill.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I am a perfectionist and I have that perfectionist mentality. That kept me from delegating a lot when I first became a principal. It also kept me from delegating to my students when I was a teacher. I cheated them out of the opportunities to use their gifts and talents because I was such a perfectionist. And I have completely flipped that now. I'm like, hey, you want this? Please take it off my plate. So you learn.
I like
Yeah.
that insight about teaching in the classroom too, because as we go in and observe instruction, sometimes you do see that. You see that, and maybe a lot of educators, we did well in school. That's why you sometimes want to become an educator. And I find that a lot of us are a little type A, or somewhere on that spectrum, right? So,
True.
yeah, that was my same situation with delegation, but I had all of that support. We had a lot of work to do in that building, and I had to get comfortable with sharing those duties, relying on the folks that was there, trusting them and building that trust. And some of that just came out of being clear about the expectations. And some of those expectations were born together. Like, what do we expect? What do we want our school to be? And then if everybody is clear about that, that delegation piece becomes a little easier. So I just wanted to bring that back around to dig a little bit deeper into the delegation issue because it can be one sometimes.
Yeah, I think for me, being the solo principal, I have my expertise is in early learning. So I usually generally don't have, I've done elementary too, but and the fifth and sixth, but I like the littles. You generally don't have a big team, like it's going to be you.
Mm-hmm.
So my school configuration was 250, 300 preschoolers. That's what my school looked like.
Wow.
And there's no one on the admin team to delegate. And I think for me, I had that open door kind of policy where my door's open and people would come in while you're trying to do all of these things. All of these correlates are in your mind. I need to get on, do my walkthroughs. This is something I set out to do at the beginning of the morning. And then that open door, maybe my door can't be open like that. So I had to learn my delegation is maybe setting boundaries around myself and then sharing with other people on my leadership team. Like I said, we would make teams because it was just me. But I think that sometimes in the school, there's a culture of my door's open because we're problem solvers as well. Like this is what we do. We
Sure.
help people. And
Yes.
maybe sometimes it might be too much help. Like I might be enabling you a little bit. So sometimes people send, like Dr. Mel, you're talking about referrals. People are sending you referrals. Well, this is something you should handle in your classroom. So
Mhm.
I'm going to have to say no to that. I'm going to have to be okay with saying, no, I can't. I'll help you, but my helping you is going to be me helping you help you.
Right. And what I was thinking, I was also a one-man show. I was the principal. That was it. I didn't have an assistant. I didn't have an instructional coach. It was just me. So what I did is I leveraged my counselor to help me with some of that stuff because she was amazing at those relationships with the kids. Plus, I was in a district for the first time that I knew no one, no one. So I didn't know even all the kids' names when school started.
Mm-hmm.
And she already had that background knowledge. So she took on some of that discipline for me
Mm-hmm.
because she was able to. And she was able to work through that much quicker than I would have been able to, not knowing their backgrounds and that kind of stuff. So you have people in your circle that can do that stuff for you. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we were talking about doing it all. And that's when you go in as a leader for the first time, you think, oh, I've got to know everything. I've got to be able to do it all. No, you don't. No, you don't. So get rid of that thought right now because I was literally doing bulletin boards. I had a wonderful art teacher who loved to create things, but guess what? I did bulletin boards. Why? I don't know because I thought I needed to and I had an idea. And so I wanted it to come to fruition. Instead of telling her what my idea was and letting her run with it, I cheated her and I put more work on myself. So take that off of your plate. Delegate as much as you can.
Right, right.
Absolutely. Yes.
The other thing
Um,
oh, go ahead, Kim.
go, Erica, because something you said earlier, and now I can't remember, but it'll come
Okay.
back. Go ahead.
The other thing we were talking about yesterday was we touched on walkthroughs and kind of monitoring the students and the teachers and a little bit mixed in with this strong instructional leadership. So we want to bring that back because as a new person, again, all of these, I call it the fire. I need you to come in here right now because XYZ is happening and you're compelled to go and see what it is. it might not need to be me. So we want to bring back this strong instructional leadership that's showing on the screen. Just to zero in a bit on it, and we want to talk about how this can connect to the walkthroughs. That's like your secret weapon. And sometimes, again, we were talking about our colleagues or people that we've known who've gone before us. The walkthroughs can feel like, to some people, a burden. Like it's something I have to get done and I'm just going to do it. I'm getting them done. And then that is it. I did them.
Check the box.
I'm done. So tying them to your instructional leadership is going to help you help the students. It's also going to help you help the teachers, and you will be able to. It'll be like your classroom. Like I think of the school as being my classroom as the principal. So I have to go in each room so I know what's going on, get the vibe, so to speak, of what's going on in the classroom. How are the students responding? How does this teacher deal with if there's a person that's writing up referrals? How are they dealing with misbehavior? What are they thinking that misbehavior is? Some people want their students to be statues, even in preschool. They want them to just sit there and be, they're being 3-year-olds. Like this is not a discipline problem, but you won't know that if you're not doing these walkthroughs. So I know that when I was doing them, there are some things around the walkthroughs. Kim, do you want to talk? I feel like I'm talking a bit. You want to talk about
Dr. Mel is off.
I was just thinking, so Kim, you had an amazing large team that could go into classrooms, so you could delegate very easily. However, when you
would think.
but when you have when you have a large team like that, then you guys need to go in as a group and do some walkthroughs together so you can see how each other does it, because you want to be consistent with those walkthroughs. When you're delegating as the principal, you want to make sure that they are looking for the same things, that they are responding the same way that you would, and that your coaching looks the same. Because if you get a new teacher, or you have to, somebody gets ill or has something happen in their family that they have to be out for an extended period of time, you can't not go into those classrooms. So somebody else is going to have to step in, and you want to make sure that that it's very consistent on that, on those walkthroughs and what you're looking for.
And I think you have hit it on the head. I think that was what I was most struggling with the delegation, is that we had to spend some time getting calibrated amongst ourselves as to what we're really looking for, and even how we will respond to what we see. And what support, like you said, what support looks like. Erica and I worked together for years. So she was the assistant at that school with me. We were both assistants at one point. Then I was the principal. So Erica and I, we think very much similar. But, so then the other assistant principal, we had to absolutely bring them in and do some of the inter-rater reliability with our walkthroughs and with our evaluations. And like I said, I had to really let go of some of the reins and allow folks to support, because they were able and willing, of course. But it was just, yes, you're absolutely right. Having those discussions around what does it really look like, and what are we looking for? What is our school? What does high quality teaching really look like for us? Like what does that mean? Because you might say it in our vision statement or whatever, but what does that mean in daily practice? So absolutely, great point. And Erica, you were going to say something.
I was going to say that, one thing that I'm going to say now is that this chart will help with that. So actually writing it down, like what is it that we're looking for on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and having that shared understanding. That's what this document will help you to do. It's a model of it where you can get some pieces to start, but you can make this your own. Like you can add on to it and develop it and make it deeper. But the thing that I was going to say before I went back to the paper is sometimes when you do the walkthroughs, you've got your focus, you've gone through the rooms, and you've got all of these little pieces of paper, or how do I translate what I'm seeing because I can see trends among the whole school, whereas the teachers only see their classroom. They don't see what's going on in the other rooms. What do you do with that with the school so that it gets movement? And we have some things that we can talk about. Like if you want to talk about this after the podcast, but we have some systems that are in place to help you manage this and then report it back out so that it's getting used in the form of a system, and it's not just in your head living in there. Because if you have a big school, like if you have 50 teachers that you have to manage this with, you have to make sure that when you're doing this, the strong instructional leadership, that you're communicating back what you're seeing. It's not enough to live in your head. Like I have some teachers that say, oh, I know my data. I don't have to write it down. It's in my head. It's the same thing for you. You can't just hold it. You have to share it back, and that needs to be frequent.
And that's one of the things we did as practice was share what we saw. So if the school-wide focus was student discourse during math instruction or whatever it was, we would talk about in how many classrooms we saw a particular instructional strategy. So out of the 30 classrooms, you said 50, 89% of the classes were doing X, Y, and Z. We would always frame it in a positive too, because it's hard work. School is hard work all around for the teachers, for the school leader. And so you want to encourage people. And then when there were areas where our percentage was kind of low, we may not share that as a whole. We might go into those classrooms where, well, we didn't see this instructional practice happening. What can we do to support? And we talked about that as a school leadership team, and then who we would support and how, and then we would provide that support, and of course communicate to those teachers who needed that additional support. And Erica, you talked a little bit about having that system, and I think that that's what really helped us, because this is all about having a system for how you will organize the instruction, how you will organize, the improvement at your school, but also within that, there are also systems. So you talked about how your door was open as as your school leader, and that happens. Like, I have an open door policy, which is important. You're absolutely right, but it is also important for people to understand that there is that hard work that you have to do, right? And one of the ways that we got around it, or a way to help folks, was, let's say, for behavior, we had what comes to the office and what is handled in your classroom. So we had a system for that, and everybody knew it, and we gave them the supports that they needed, so that you weren't getting things that, like, Johnny doesn't have a pencil, because that's not an office referral that he doesn't have a pencil. That is something that you can do in your classroom. And so having those systems and organizing yourself, if you're a new school leader, or even if you've been in the school for a while, but you're feeling like, you want to capture what's happening a little bit better, making certain that you have those clear systems, clear communication to all of your stakeholders is key. And that is what really helped us move our school. Like, we had some tremendous improvement academically once we put these in place, once we made certain that we focused on the correlates, all of them, and that we supported our teachers and our staff around those correlates. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Mel.
Yeah, I was just thinking about those systems, and you had mentioned, Erica, yesterday, PLC, and it can be a system itself on how you look at data. And yeah, they may have that data in their head, but do they have the right data in their head? Because new teachers, they don't know what data to collect. They don't know how to use that data to make informed instructional decisions. And I mean, I didn't necessarily know when I was a brand new teacher on what data was important and what data wasn't. And data is fluid. They don't always realize that. But behavior data is something that will help move your needle a little bit too. I had so I had 3 of each grade level when I was a principal. And one of my grade levels, they were the people who would send me a student for everything. Like, oh, their shoes are untied. I mean, it wasn't quite that bad, but you know what I mean? It was like ridiculous
Right. He doesn't
until
have a pencil.
I showed them their data. And when I showed them their data, that was very eye-opening for them that, wow, we have the most referrals in the building, and we are obviously needing to fix something in our system. So, teaching our teachers how to set up those systems is very important. And so you find, again, you leverage that human capital of someone who has great systems in their classroom to help those newbies set up those systems. Because one of the things that I have really been thinking on here lately, especially in Missouri, because we have such a teacher shortage, is that recruitment and retention. So you want to recruit great teachers, but you don't want to have to live in recruitment. You want to live in retention, because
Yeah.
that's when you grow. If you're bringing in new teachers all the time, you're never going anywhere, because you're always training new teachers, and there's never
Yes.
consistency and systems in place.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I think just in my experience with principals in general, maybe they could be new, it could be somebody that is experienced, but if there's a struggle usually, and I mean with the fire again, back to that conversation with the delegating, but if you're getting pulled all over everywhere all day and you can't really get anything done, first of all, it's frustrating because this is not what I came to be a principal to do. I have this idea that I want to uh, work on this instructional leadership and work with the students and be in the classroom with the teachers, and I'm not getting to do that. It causes frustration, like you said, burnout. But really, at the root of that is this discussion that we're having about systems. So if this is happening to you, I know I've seen it. You need a system. So you have to have a system for everything, like systems on systems. So these correlates or this booklet will help you set up your overarching system, like how we're going to organize ourselves and what we're going to look at. But inside of each one, there's a system for each one. And sometimes it takes a bit to make it yours, like fit what fits for your school. My school with the pre-K and the PLCs, like just saying PLCs, like you were saying, Dr. Mel, what does that mean? Like when I went from one school to the next, their idea of a PLC is nothing like what we were. You can't just say these words. So I can come and say, yeah, we're going to do PLCs and we'll have this meeting. But if I don't really take my time and get a clear understanding, you looking at something like this chart for them, like what is it that we're going to be doing? What is each person responsible for? How does this meeting go? What kind of data are we looking? Like that is, for me, that was the key at my building. When I went to a new building, I would say words. I would say we're going to do a PLC, or we're going to have a meeting. We're going to look at data like at the quarterly mark. And I didn't spend the time getting that shared understanding, explaining what is it that I mean, like the mental models you were saying, Dr. Mill, my mental model is different from yours. So I guess my advice to someone who is new is to spend that time getting that shared understanding before you even start with this. You have it for yourself, yes, but the key to it is communication and being able to have discussions with people, see what it is that they're thinking. Like you were talking about the change process. These are all discussions that we can talk about what it is that we're seeing. Even in the walkthroughs, if I'm having a struggle, that's another area. Like, how do I tell you that without crushing you? Because I want to keep you. Like, I want you to grow. How do I tell you this? These things are all layered inside, so they all need systems on systems.
Right. And common language, because what rigor means for one person is not what rigor means for someone else.
Absolutely.
sometimes they will think rigor just means hard. And
Yes.
sometimes someone will think rigor means I need to assign 50 problems of the exact same thing because they can
It's a lot.
practice and that's rigorous.
Yeah.
No, that's
Right.
just time consuming. And hard
Yes.
doesn't mean that it's rigorous, it just means it's hard. Are they
Hard.
learning at high levels? Are they using
Right.
the DOK 3 and 4?
Hmm.
You have
Hmm.
to really get that common language down so
Yes.
you can
Right.
have that shared mental model.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
And that's not something that happens overnight. That takes time to
no,
develop
it
and it
it
takes
does.
consistency. Consistency.
Yes. And a lot of times you have to understand. So I was at another conference and a new school leader stood up and said, "Look, I have all of these areas that need addressing. How do I identify which one I should focus on first? Like I have a climate, I have maybe behavior issues. My students are not progressing in, I think it was ELA, she said, or reading. And she's just like, I'm struggling with what lever to pull for, like, what do I focus on? And so that school leader who's new also has to realize that it takes time, like you said. Choose those areas. I would probably base it on some data that I'm looking at, and then get your team together and decide which one we're going to focus on first. To me, it would be that climate because once I get the foundational, this is what we're about, then you can kind of layer some things on top. But yes, I think it's very important that you communicate, like Erica's saying, what the focus will be. But you have to know it too, and you have to be okay with choosing this one so that you can really focus on it and do it well. Because sometimes if you try all of these different things, people aren't ready for it. Like you said, the common language is not there. So you're saying these things and they don't understand what you're doing. So it is important to get that foundation kind of straight before you start all of those others. But a lot of times, at least for us, Erica, in the school we were at that we've been talking about with the Fifth Sixth Center, there was this feeling of urgency. And I'm sure that that is the case now in
Mm-hmm.
most schools. Like
Mm-hmm.
students can't wait, like you really want them to be where you envision their learning to be yesterday, especially if you're in a school where the students are not progressing the way that you know in your heart they could be. You just feel like this immense pressure. But I always would think about the fact, okay, maybe not always, but sometimes think about the fact that it does take time. Like I cannot make things happen faster than the time. And as long as we're making those sound decisions that are focused on those instructional leadership strategies and that at the core is student learning, that, it is possible to make those gains that you seek.
Yeah. And what is important to be fixed for the good of everybody may not be
Yes.
what they're seeing. So everything is important to, or not everything is important to everybody, but some things are important to some people. And it may just be their little corner of the world that it really affects the most. Okay. So
It's true.
what are those big things that we need to work on as
For
a
everything.
building or a district
Yes.
first?
Yes.
But then
Yes.
also maybe find some kind of a quick win to
Mm-hmm.
get that momentum going and to
Yes.
increase that culture
Absolutely.
and make them feel, hey, we're doing something. She's
Mm-hmm.
doing something or he's
Mm-hmm.
doing something to help us.
Yes.
Look, we did
Yes.
this. It was quick. Now let's
Yes.
tackle this bigger thing as a group, a cohesive group.
Yes. Erica was really good at that in the building. We tried to focus on positive things, right?
Mhm.
So she did, this is a little off topic, but she would make certain that we identified teachers, was it weekly, that something positive in our walkthroughs that we could share. And she just gave them a little rock and put you on it, you rock. And the teachers would save those and we would write a little note as to what it was that we saw them do that was really awesome toward our goal, our collective goal or their personal goal. And it really made a difference. Like you said, like find those quick wins. And folks were like, all right, I'm on top of it. Let me try and do this now,
Mhm.
because people have to feel encouraged, not, okay, everything's terrible and everything. No, something there is happening that is positive and it's good for us to illuminate that.
Right. And so the way that I did it, or the way we did it when I was Dean of Instruction, is we would go into classrooms for the walkthrough. Yes, we went in there specifically to look for something else. But if they mastered the thing that we were looking at last week, then we celebrated that. Hey, you did this
Yes.
great, and this is what happened because of that. So always
Yes.
tie it back to that student achievement. So because you did this thing, the students excelled here, or it moved the students forward here. Now let's
Mhm.
work on this.
Exactly. But even that was systemized.
Mm-hmm.
So it was even, so sometimes we focus on whatever is going like, I need to fix this. But when you switch your attention to what's going well and make that also a system, that will become something that you regularly do.
Yes.
Yeah, less is sometimes more. Like
Yes.
like we think you have to do all these things, but sometimes it really is less is more. Like you're
Yeah.
not being good at anything if you're doing too many
Trying to
things.
do everything. True.
We were talking about quick wins. So I thought maybe we'll look at the quick wins summary just to recap for again or go over it a little bit deeper for we talked a little bit about it last time, but we can look at it again.
And
If you
just to
need us,
remind my audience, the link for all of this information is in the show notes. So you can click on the link for the workbook and you can scroll and find the quick win summary.
yes, it's just a starting point. Like we were thinking about the school leader who's new or new to a building. It might not be brand new, but I'm new at this building. And you get in that chair and you're like, where do I start? I don't even know anybody here, or I'm just here in the summertime. So we picked out a few things again with these correlates. They're all 7 are listed here on the side. And then we're saying that this is who's responsible, that being clear on who's doing what. So I can say, okay, I know that the assistant principal, I can see them for this. Or if I'm having trouble with XYZ, I can go to, this is under the principal's boat, even though the principal's boat is the whole boat. You're just delegating different areas of it. But we
Can I
can go
make one comment real quick?
Yeah, of
Just
course.
because someone owns that doesn't mean that is completely out of your purview.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes.
you are still the principal of the building and you still need to
Absolutely.
have your hand in things.
Yes.
So just
Right.
because you delegate to your instructional
Right.
coach doesn't mean you are not part of instructional leadership anymore. So
Oh,
I just wanted to
absolutely.
clear that up.
Yes,
Right.
that is true. That is true. It's all of yours. You're
Yes.
just sharing.
Yes.
And the way that this is divided is we're sharing parts of it. So if you look at the structure again or the system, the principal is responsible for the overall, and then the assistant principal has a little part of it, and the instructional coach might have a different part of it. When we at my school, I didn't have an AP, so we broke it down into these teams. But I had a team leader on each one, so they would do it wasn't less. I won't say less responsibility, but a zeroed in focus on what the principal is focusing on. But again, this is a shared discussion so that we're all aware of what it is that we're doing together. So it's not a division, it's delegating, but we're still all working together in the same fashion, the same team. So I'm not a fan of reading the document like you could see it. But these are areas that you could quickly win, like Dr. Mill said, so you can get your thunder going. You say, well, I can start with this. And then as you go along, you'll start collecting data and you will see where you can fine tune or increase things or decrease things as needed. Were you going to say something, Kim?
The one about how what we're doing connects to the mission and vision of the school is just one I wanted to point out. That's something that we did. We will put our the mission and vision or the focus for our either the week or the year, the quarter. It depended on the emails all the time. This also went out to our families as well. But also, even at the end of the meeting, it's important to, if there is a meeting that you're having or a discussion, kind of bring back to, okay, this relates in this way, or asking them, how does this relate to what we've been talking about? Just because you don't want it to be, you don't want teachers to feel like things are disconnected. You want them to be connected to the work that we do. And this even helps us to do that. Because sometimes when you go somewhere and you learn a new thing, you're like, oh, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to grab a little of that and I'm going to do a little of this. That's important to have those things in your toolbox, but you want to make certain that things are cohesive so that you're moving in the direction that you are heading, that everything moves together and everybody can see the path that you're going. And then if it's, hey, remember that thing, we can pull that out of the tool kit and use this here. That might be one of the things that just kind of focus everybody back to what the ideas are, the belief systems are, and our focus overall are.
Yes, and you
So
should
I thought that was a good
always,
one.
as a building leader, you should revisit the mission and vision very often. And
Yes.
even as an educational consultant, when I go work with another school, that is one of the first slides that I present is the mission and vision of the school and tie everything we're doing that day back to that because that's important and they need to understand why we have the vision, the mission, and how our goals and our strategic plan align with all of that.
Together, yeah.
I guess I will point out the homeschool relations. Again, we want to work with families, but I guess what I want to bring out is also working with your community. It's not necessarily stated on here. And then I guess when you look at the word homeschool, you think parents, and parents are important. It's on here that you're going to, reach out to families. And we've learned that sometimes as the school leader or teachers, the school side, we tell the parents what we want them to do. And then we wonder why we're not getting the engagement that we would like to have sometimes. Some schools are not like that. They have really good engagement. It just depends on where you are. But inviting the parents in and bringing them into this conversation too. So you're having these these conversations about building shared understanding with your staff and among yourself, among your admin team. But don't forget to include the parents in that conversation and the community at large. So it's not just that homeschool relations is not just home necessarily. It's those people in the community who I go to church there and I know so-and-so and I see them at school. We can speak to each other. And oftentimes the community has resources that we don't have. So we can work together and get some of our needs met. Sometimes there's community agencies that can do things that we used to get books. Like books are expensive. So that community partner will help us meet our needs. So don't forget about, it's not just homeschool relations, it's also looking your community or even the neighboring community. Like we live in Northwest Indiana, but I've reached out to Chicago and gotten help. Chicago's like 30 miles away. So it's not necessarily just what's in your town or your city. Look around your whole community, and that enriches the school. And it's also like a little PR, like they're gonna tell the people that are in their circle the good things that are going on at the school building. So I just wanted to point out the community. It's not stated on there, but that is definitely a piece that should be considered. If you're new, don't forget about them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Have we gone over? I think we didn't talk about opportunity to learn and time on task. Anybody want to take that one? Kim, you want to?
I think that our quick win is to talk to 3 teachers this week. What steals instructional time most? I will say that I was in the building. We were talking about math, and what the teachers communicated is that their math block was split between recess, like a little bit of it, and then recess, and then a little bit of it, and that it made it difficult for them to get like concepts. The instruction was feeling a little stale because of that. And so I understand that changing the whole schedule is not something that, a lot of times will happen mid-year or whenever this came up. This was not our building, but one of the ones that I was consulting in. But what we did talk about is within that team, having a conversation about how to move some things around, because you really do want to make certain that when you can prioritize instruction, that happens. Now, students still need their recess time, especially the little ones and maybe the bigger ones too. You don't want to take some of those things away just because, the students in the school may have some struggles. You want to make certain that they have that time to stretch their brain in different ways. But it was just something that they brought up. And so when we talked about this definitely comes back to opportunity to learn and time on task, having that focused time during that math block when she had it. And so that really helped. And when I was able to go back to that building, they were like, we changed some things around, and even our focus. So like the beginning half might have been like whole group discussion, and then the second half was like small groups. And so they were able to still get in the time that they needed and not totally disrupt the entire schedule for the building.
Mm-hmm. I guess this is something that you could look at too while you're doing those walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
Just to note, to be aware of how much sometimes the teacher doesn't realize. I know, like the restroom break is 30 minutes, or it's being long. Kind of look at it. Yeah, see what is.
Yeah.
Just to be aware of those little minutes that you might be able to get back. Sometimes because I'm not living in it, that I could see it, and then it could be a spot for a conversation to talk about it. But just to be aware that time is limited. That's something you can't get more of, and it's very important that we are spending on task, not to the detriment, like you said. We got to have breaks and
recess.
Live.
Yes.
But sometimes that can be. I know the restroom breaks can be. If you add it up and then you multiply by the whole year, that's a lot of time.
It could be a lot. That's true.
Yeah, and that goes back to your systems. Everything needs a system or a procedure.
Yes.
So if you have procedures and systems and your kids have practiced those, you may have to practice a little bit at the beginning of the year, but if you're practicing and you're really keeping them, holding them accountable for that and that time on task, then you're going to essentially gain those minutes back.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Well, I think we talked about some of the correlates on yesterday, and we covered the ones that we didn't today. So I think we've covered all of them. We wanted to make everyone aware of this quick wins sheet, so you could just grab and go if you want to have an easy place to get started. And then I guess, Dr. Mel, can we talk about what we do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, our company is Max Results, and I'll scroll down so you have something to look at. But what we do is, our passion is we see the principals who are almost crying out, like, I need help with this. And I know from my own experience, sometimes there was no one to talk to. Like, I just didn't have that person. I didn't have that person to talk to. And I would take on some things by myself, or have to be thinking about things alone. So that doesn't feel good. It's really isolating. It can be an isolating position. You're in a building with 500 people, but yeah, you're by yourself. Like, I can't bring my things, like we're talking with each other. I can't bring my principal stuff to the teacher. They want you to know, kind of help. You're supposed to be helping me. So, I mean, not to say that they can't ever help, but there's certain things that you can't discuss among the teacher group, or that you shouldn't. There's some things you shouldn't discuss among that group.
Right.
So what we are offering is a chance to talk to some experienced principals who've been in your shoes and really, really know. Like we know so well that we won't say we saw it all because we already know. We haven't seen it
We
all.
saw a lot, though. We saw a
We
lot.
saw a lot, but we haven't seen it all. So there are things that we can help you get through. We can help you be a thought partner. If you need help setting up systems, we can help you set up systems. We can help set up systems for your systems. Like we can just go on down. We can also help talk to your staff. Like sometimes you want to do PD, but you don't have the time to put it together, or you're just not quite sure, like, what do I want to do? We can help you make the PD for your staff if that's what you want to present it yourself, or we can present the PD to the staff. We do coaching with principals, and we also do PD with everyone. So we want to throw that out there. If someone is planning for the summer and you want to go a little bit deeper, we're giving this tool to you. But if you would like to go a little bit deeper, we're available. Our information is down here on the bottom. You can email us. You could go to our website and we will be happy to assist you.
Excellent. And I will have those links in the show notes as well, so you can connect with them easier. And I will definitely have this workbook in there and all of the things. So they will have no problem getting in touch with you ladies. This was great. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this kind of workshop style. And I think I may do this in the future with some people. This is awesome to.
Well, thank you for having us. We were glad
Yes,
to
thank
be
you
here.
So
so
much. It was
much.
nice. We love talking about everything school leadership. So
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Totally. Totally. Well,
yeah,
thank you again, ladies. I really appreciate it. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for joining us this last couple of days. I hope this has helped you in some way, and I hope it will move your needle forward and give you some things to think about this summer and get started and be on fire when school starts again in just a little while. It's going to come up very quickly.
it
So
sure is.
thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you back here, same time, same place, next time. Bye bye.